Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Lauren Izo. Coming up in this edition. In a hit too close for comfort, a Syrian missile is intercepted near Israel's top-secret nuclear reactor. Here is the dramatic moment. A car crashes into a cafe, injuring more than a dozen people. And in honor of Earth Day, ILTV is highlighting one Israeli who made it his mission to clean Israel's beaches. As tensions escalate between Israel and Iran, a series of unusual security incidents taking place in Israel since Wednesday. First, an explosion at a missile factory near the central city of Ramleh. Before official comments, Iranian media praised the blast, saying it took place at a, quote, sensitive military industrial site. It quoted eyewitnesses as seeing flames at a great height. Israeli media say the explosion was part of a routine test at a facility for advanced weapons. Overnight, a surface-to-air missile launched from Syria, setting off red alert sirens near Israel's top-secret nuclear reactor in Dimona. The IDF activated its air defense systems in an attempt to intercept the missile. However, the attempt apparently failed. In response, the IDF attacked several missile batteries in Syria, including the one that fired the projectile that struck its territory. Syria's state news agency said Syrian air defenses intercepted the Israeli attack. Syrian media reported 4 soldiers injured in those strikes. Let's clear this up with Dr. Nir Bohms, a Dayan Center Research Fellow from Tel Aviv University. Thank you, sir, for joining me today.
Good to be here.
So first of all, we have 2 separate incidents here. The IDF has said the overnight strike near Dimona did indeed come from Syria. But what about that missile factory explosion? Was this just a routine incident, or should we be reading more into it?
Well, as these things go, things will clear up as things progress. But for all the information I've seen so far, I think that 2 incidents are not related. And it also seems that since we have the missile shrapnel, and we can identify this is an SA-5, and we can identify the source and the timing, we can say with a certain degree of certainty that the event early this morning, late last night, was a response of Syrian anti-missile or anti-airplane fire following an Israeli attack in a suburb of Damascus. And a missile that is an old missile with a significant radius that was launched against an airplane and eventually had gotten closer to Dimona, and then prompted an additional Israeli attack that destroyed the SA-5 missile launcher in Syria. Of course, there is an Iranian version of it. And the Iranians very much need a victory picture. The tit-for-tat account for the last few months and weeks, really since the mysterious assassinations of the new nuclear scientist and all the way to Namtaz, with a number of ships and other Iranian nuclear experts who had disappeared or facilities where they're damaged, necessitates an Iranian response, and the Iranians are pleased to celebrate, and perhaps Israel will even let them do so, because it may be something that will deflate the difficult reality. But I think it's difficult to say that the Iranians have actually, with the help of the Syrians, were able to successfully launch a missile to Dimona, although that particular scenario, even if it was not completely deliberate, points to the fact that this conflict is dangerous, it can escalate easily, and that the abilities are there. And that's something that certainly we need to take into consideration.
So without saying who specifically is responsible at the end of the day for launching this missile, the missile near Dimona is the farthest that Syria has been able to strike in Israel to date. How significant is it? And of course, the fact that it's near the Dimona facility at all.
Oh, the SA-5 missile has a range of close to 400 kilometers. It's an old missile, but it can be improved. And one of the things the Iranians have done is improving old systems and making them more accurate. This is, if you wish, a potential preview of what the conflict with Lebanon and Hezbollah, and as well as with Syria, may look like. If there's going to be a scenario of the third Lebanon war, when we'll have a barrage of missiles, particularly missiles that are more accurate, not surface-to-air, but surface-to-surface missiles that have particular targets programmed into their launch, means that missiles can be targeting strategic facilities. Dimona is one of them, the military camps and headquarters and cities. This is something that will necessitate a very quick response on the Israeli side. This is something that will necessitate a very swift action of the Air Force, but it also means that this is going to be a very costly conflict. So we can imagine what can happen if a barrage of missiles as such, and that may be more accurate, can be launched at the same time. These are the abilities that exist for Hezbollah, and these are the abilities that the Iranians are trying to build in Syria, both for the usage of the Syrian, also for the usage of their own proxies and militias like Hezbollah.
All right, we will have to follow all these escalations. Dr. Nir Boms, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be here.
Well, what happens if you have nowhere to run in case of emergency? As tensions with Iran and its proxies in the region rise, nearly 1/3 of Israel's population lacks functioning bomb shelters in case of an attack. According to Ynet, only 38% of Israelis have bomb shelters at home. 27% would rely on public shelters available in high-rise apartment blocks, while 6% of the public, an estimated 500,000 people, would have to reach public shelters outside their homes. Also, approximately 2.6 million Israelis, around 28% of the population, lack a proper shelter altogether, private or public, into which they can make their way to sufficiently quickly in case of an attack. Things are heating up on the political front as we get further and further away from forming a government and avoiding a fifth election in just over 2 years. Speeches last night from Prime Minister Netanyahu and his biggest right-wing challenger, Naftali Bennett, leader of the Yamina party. With Bennett's Yamina joining Likud, Netanyahu would be able to secure a majority. But Bennett has other plans.
אני מחויב לערכים שלי ולאזרחי מדינת ישראל. כדי שלא יהיו ספקות, הנה סדר הדברים מבחינתי. בעדיפות ראשונה, להקים ממשלת ימין. נתניהו, יש לך אותנו, לך תקים ממשלה. יש עוד 14 יום, הזמן לא נגמר, זה אפשרי. אם בליכוד בכל זאת ייכשלו במשימה, אז בעדיפות שנייה אני אפעל להקים ממשלת אחדות לאומית. התנאי שלי זו שתהיה ממשלה טובה, יציבה, אמיתית ומתפקדת, ובתנאי שאני אוכל לשמור על הערכים, על העקרונות שלי, על השקפת העולם הלאומית שלי.
כדי להיות ראש ממשלה עם 7 מנדטים. והדרך היחידה שלך לעשות זאת היא לעמוד בראשות ממשלת שמאל של לפיד, מרץ ועבודה, ובתמיכת המשותפת. עכשיו, אתה קורא לזה ממשלת אחדות לאומית. איזה מכבסת מילים, איזה ניסיון שקוף להונות את הציבור. כי בפועל זה ממשלה עם 50 חברי הכנסת של שמאל ושמאל קיצוני. יחד איתך כראש סיכה, עם 7 מנדטים, דבר שלא היה בתולדות המדינה. זה פשוט יריקה בפרצוף של הדמוקרטיה.
Aviv Bushinsky was the former chief of staff at the Prime Minister's office under Benjamin Netanyahu, and he is joining us now to make some sense of it all. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Lauren. Thank you for having me.
Well, in past elections, Netanyahu has stayed relatively confident throughout the coalition building process because in the past, going to elections over and over again maybe have seemed to serve him. Is he starting to get nervous that he may not continue being the prime minister?
Yes, for the fundamental reason that once and if he's going to lose his mandate that he received from the president within 12 days, then someone else will have the power to try and form an alternative government. And most likely it will be Naftali Bennett with Yair Lapid. In previous cases, Netanyahu either managed to create a block that will prevent the other side, so to speak, from forming a government. And even in one case, he dissolves the Knesset prior to handing over the mandate to someone else. So in other words, Netanyahu gradually losing his playing cards. And I think that we understood yesterday that Netanyahu, not only that he realized that he is about to lose the chance of forming the next coalition, but he has to move now to a different configuration in which is acting like a head of the opposition, trying to put obstacles or bumpers on the way for the other side to form a government.
Aviv Bennett claims his priority is to make a right-wing government, but it seems his real priority is to be the prime minister, even if that does mean creating a left-wing government. What do you think his goals are here?
This is a tough one because no doubt that Naftali Bennett has a once-in-a-lifetime chance to become a prime minister. Maybe in different occasions he won't even be so close to this golden cherry. So he, on the one hand, wants to execute this opportunity and unite with the left and the center left and become prime minister. But the problem is that he has a dual problem. One, that few of his members in his party think that by joining the left may put an end to their political career, since they came from the right to the Likud. This is one thing. And the second thing is even a greater dangerous is that in case Naftali Bennett fails to form a government, then they're going to be in a lose-lose situation. Not only that they defected from the right, but also they'll lose their bargaining chips with Netanyahu, as they have at the moment that Netanyahu is fetching for them. But if they're going to lose their opportunity on the other side and will go back bending to Netanyahu and asking him to rejoin Netanyahu, then it will be a different ballgame.
Definitely an interesting time to be alive. Aviv Bushinsky, thank you very much.
Yes, it is. Not so happy, but it is, yes.
All right, moving on now. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu joined world leaders this week in remembering Idris Deby, the longtime president of Chad, who Netanyahu met with back in 2019. The Prime Minister writing on Twitter, "I send my deepest condolences to the people of Chad on the passing of President Idris Deby. We will miss his bold leadership and always remember his historic decision to renew Chad's relationship with Israel." In 2019, Deby welcomed Netanyahu to Chad's capital city, where the two reestablished ties nearly 5 decades after cutting relations due to pressure from the Libyan ruler Muammar Gaddafi. Deby was the longest ruling leader in Africa and had just been declared the winner in the country's recent presidential contest in a vote boycotted by much of the opposition. He succumbed to injuries sustained while visiting the front line in a battle against northern rebels in the border region with Libya. Well, another tragic story coming from Israel today. A man once beloved by his community and the country is in critical condition after attempting suicide. Co-founder and chairman of the Zaka Volunteer Emergency Response Organization, Yehuda Meshi Zahav, resigned from the organization after sexual assault allegations against him surfaced, forcing him to turn down a prestigious national award he was set to win. His suicide attempt comes just hours before a television expose was set to air, potentially revealing new details of the allegations against him. While Meshi Zahav has denied all wrongdoing, he turned down the Israel Prize and, of course, resigned from his position. A police official said that investigators found a suicide note in his home. Israel's Channel 12 News issued a statement saying that given the recent developments, its editors will debate whether to air the show at this time. This is the dramatic moment. A car slammed into a cafe in central Israel this morning, wounding at least 12 people. Medical authorities say following the incident that one woman appears to be in serious condition. One other victim sustained moderate wounds, with the rest suffering mild injuries. According to police, the 78-year-old driver of the vehicle lost control of the wheel and swerved off the road into the sidewalk on Rothschild Street in Bat Yam, where an Aroma Cafe branch is located. The driver has sustained light injuries to his chest in the incident. Police have opened an investigation into the incident, and the section of road at the location was blocked to traffic. In some other unfortunate news, Washington Wizards Israeli rookie Deni Avdija is reportedly out for the season with an ankle injury. On Wednesday night, fans cringed as the 20-year-old Israeli basketball superstar sustained a hairline fracture on his right ankle and is probably going to be out for the remainder of the season. According to ESPN, Avdija will undergo an MRI exam today, but will likely not need surgery. This unfortunate injury coming in the second quarter when Avdija landed awkwardly after missing a layup against Golden State. As for now, we are wishing the Israeli native a quick recovery, or a refuah shlema, as we say in Hebrew. Moving along now, new updates on the coronavirus front. Israel is planning to issue new travel measures. All you need to know in the next report.
With the spread of the novel Indian variant, Israeli authorities currently holding discussions about possible travel measures. Coronavirus expert Professor Nachman Ash saying that Israel should worry about the Indian variant. But even with the new variant, numbers continuing to decline. On Wednesday, the health ministry reporting 11 new cases, and the positive infection rate has dropped to 0.2%. Nearly 5 million Israelis have now received 2 vaccine doses. Meanwhile, Ash is backtracking on Prime Minister Netanyahu's warnings for Israelis to prepare for yet another vaccine in 6 months. Ash saying that currently there are no certainties on when another vaccine booster will be needed. All this while Israel reportedly no longer wants a new AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccination. Officials, however, making no references to the vaccination having been associated with very rare blood clots in Europe. And while there is much speculation on which vaccine is the best, the Ministry of Health saying that COVID-19 vaccinations cannot be compared. In the Palestinian territories, with the rise of new variants and uncertainty surrounding vaccinations, the sick and dying are rapidly pushing Gaza's hospitals close to capacity. And gravediggers in Gaza City are feeling the surge in COVID-19 related deaths.
بقت تيجي جنازة وجنازتين فهم علي ومرة ما تجيش بالمرة، المرة يعني يجي أيام ما تجي جنازة باليوم، إما اليوم يعني الفترة هذه يعني تعال من شهر وتعال جاي صارت الحالات يعني كل يوم تيجي 10 حالات 8 حالات، يعني اليوم يجي من الصبح لحتى الآن 8 حالات، الله يعلم كمان شوية هيجيبوا، بيجيبوا العصر بيجيبوا المغرب بيجيبوا العشاء، وممنوع حقيقة ممنوع يعني أول ما بموت دغري بيجيبوه هنا، مش زي أول يعني يقعد لثاني يوم ولا ثالث يوم، حقيقة نسبة الحالات زادت بشكل مش طبيعي.
However, in more uplifting news, Israel and the United Arab Emirates signing an agreement for cooperation in the health sector, vowing to work on mutual vaccination recognition to allow tourism and business exchange to prosper. Alyssa Hugel, ILTV.
This next story gives a whole new meaning to "the floor is lava." Imagine sitting in your living room watching TV when all of a sudden, the floor caves in. That happened to residents of a building on a street in Ramat Gan in Israel. They were then evacuated after the floor collapsed in their ground floor apartment, leaving a massive pit in their living room. The collapse was attributed to nearby construction work on a new building and cellar. One resident said that he and his partner were not at home at the time and found the giant hole upon their return. He added that he was very relieved his dog was not harmed in the incident. All right, happy Earth Day. Today, all over the world, people are cleaning up and turning off the lights to conserve power in honor of the international holiday. This year's theme is #RestoreOurPlanet. And in honor of this important day, ILTV wants to highlight one individual here in Israel who has made it his mission to keep Israel's beaches clean.
Julian Melser is cleaning up a Tel Aviv beach, one cigarette butt at a time.
My name is Julian Melser. I've been collecting cigarette butts from the beaches in Israel for about 3 years now. It's super important because the cigarettes hurt the nature, they hurt the beach, and I love the beach. It's my home, just trying to save the world.
Prowling the shore each morning, a large plastic bag in hand, the 26-year-old Israeli treats every day like Earth Day, picking up butts and selling small pouches he calls pocket ashtrays to smokers to deter them from littering. Melser said it's also a living, earning him about $3,000 to $4,000 a month during summer months from the sale of the pocket ashtrays. The Tel Aviv resident has been at it for 3 years, starting out by creating artwork from butts he collected and then finding a way to recycle his large haul. Stuffing butt-filled plastic bags into boxes, Melser mails them to the No Butts organization in Ireland, which extracts their plastic filters for repurposing. He estimates that he and others in his volunteer group in Israel have picked up about 1 million butts.
I just had to create my own value, and this project, I knew how important it was for me, and I knew that I could sell pocket ashtrays, and it started as a survival mechanism because of Corona, and I never thought it would turn out to this beautiful project where I can actually pay people to clean the beach and raise awareness and talk to smokers.
On its website, No Butts said cigarette filters are the most toxic single-use plastic on the planet. It estimates that some 6 trillion butts are littered worldwide every year.
זה פרויקט מדהים לדעתי, ששומר על כדור הארץ, ובאמת מגיע לו כל הכבוד ומחיאות כפיים לאותו בחור שאוסף את הבדלים ושמנקה אחרינו וליוצרים בעצם של המאפרה הגאונית הזאת.
Chana Rifkin, ILTV.
What a great initiative. Now let's take a look at the weather forecast with our Chana Rifkin.
Happy Earth Day, Lauren. And in honor of this wonderful celebration, Israel is expecting mostly clear skies this weekend. Lows tonight at 9 degrees Celsius up north, 13 in the center, and 19 in Eilat. Then tomorrow leading into Shabbat with highs in the mid-20s to low 30s, depending on the area. Lastly, Saturday, we'll be seeing some clouds with temperatures reaching the mid-30s in both the north and the south, and mid-20s in the center.
Happy Earth Day to you too, Chana. And now, just before we go, let's take a look at what's going viral in Israel. That looks like a ton of dolphins all swimming together, and they're very cute. They are in Ashkelon, near the seashore, so all the lucky residents of Ashkelon should go outside and check out all the dolphins near the shore. How exciting. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.26 shekels to the American dollar and 2.61 shekels to the Canadian dollar. And finally, for the latest updates and news from ILTV, please like ILTV on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as our newsletter at iltv.tv. I'm Lauren Izzo. Be well, and thank you for watching.